Global trade has become a battleground, and France has just launched a surprising counterattack against U.S. tariffs, a move that caught everyone off guard. Today, we'll explore the shockwaves reverberating across the European Union and the automotive industry as allies scramble to rethink their strategies. With 7 critical factors in play, we'll dissect France's bold response, its ripple effects on global trade, and what it means for automakers around the world. Strap in. This is a trade war unlike anything we've seen before. Factor 7. France strikes back at U.S. tariffs, swift and decisive. In early 2025, President Trump approved a steep 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports, aiming to shield American manufacturers. But Washington likely didn't foresee France's swift and resolute retaliation. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot immediately made it clear that France, along with the broader European Union, would not sit back as their industries faced economic strain from the U.S. This bold stance has sent shockwaves through the automotive sector, which depends heavily on steel and aluminum for production. With material costs now soaring, automakers are facing rising expenses that could lead to higher vehicle prices for consumers and slimmer profit margins for manufacturers. France's countermove sends a powerful message. It will not let its industries be undermined without a fight. Factor 6. Strengthening ties with China. A strategic shift as U.S. trade relations grow increasingly tense. France is strategically pivoting to forge stronger economic alliances, with China taking center stage. The numbers speak volumes. In 2023 alone, trade between France and China skyrocketed to $78.9 billion, an astounding 800-fold increase over 6 decades of diplomatic relations. President Macron's visit to Beijing in April 2023 was far more than symbolic. It yielded 18 major cooperation agreements across sectors ranging from aviation and agriculture to the critical arena of automotive technology. This strategic shift could be a game-changer for the French automotive industry, unlocking opportunities for joint ventures, technology sharing, and expanded market access. With China's vast consumer base and its leadership in electric vehicle (EV) battery production, French automakers stand to gain a significant competitive advantage, potentially offsetting losses from U.S. trade restrictions. The takeaway is clear. In today's volatile trade landscape, diversification isn't just a strategy, it's essential for survival. Factor 5. Ripple effects on Europe's auto supply chain. Steel and aluminum tariffs don't just dent profits, they throw a wrench into the finely tuned machinery of Europe's automotive supply chain. Materials that once flowed seamlessly between suppliers and manufacturers are now burdened with higher costs and trade uncertainties. Airbus CEO Guillaume Faury even suggested that the aerospace giant might prioritize non-U.S. customers if transatlantic business becomes too expensive, a warning that echoes across the automotive industry. For automakers, this means rethinking their entire supply strategy. They may need to scout for alternative sources, relocate production, or pass the added costs on to consumers. And there's a wild card to consider. If tariffs drive up vehicle prices, demand could take a nosedive, leaving manufacturers in an even tougher spot. Before we dive deeper, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us connect with more auto enthusiasts like you. Now let's shift gears and steer toward our next point. Factor 4. The European Union rallies. A trade war on the horizon? France isn't fighting this battle alone. The entire European Union is closing ranks, ready to defend its interests. President Macron has been leading the charge, urging a united EU response to what he calls unfair trade practices, and history shows that when the EU stands together, it doesn't back down without a fight. For Europe's automotive industry, this conflict hits close to home. As a global export powerhouse, the EU knows that a prolonged trade war could wreak havoc on supply chains, drive up production costs, and erode its competitive edge on the world stage. While Brussels is keeping diplomatic doors open, it's also preparing for the worst, laying the groundwork for potential retaliatory tariffs. If push comes to shove, the EU is ready to act. Factor 3. Shifting gears. France diversifies trade partnerships. Amid the unpredictability of U.S. trade policies, France and the broader European Union are fast-tracking efforts to diversify their economic alliances, moving away from over-reliance on American trade. France has significantly expanded its economic presence in Asia, with China now standing as its largest trading partner on the continent. For the automotive industry, this strategic pivot isn't just about survival, it's about unlocking new opportunities. By forging fresh partnerships, automakers can access emerging markets, collaborate on cutting-edge technologies, and shield themselves from the risks of U.S. trade volatility. If this approach succeeds, European manufacturers could strengthen their resilience, ensuring they're less susceptible to geopolitical shocks and better positioned for long-term stability. Factor 2. Long-term implications for U.S.-EU relations. The ongoing trade dispute between the U.S. and the EU is putting immense strain on their long-standing alliance. U.S.-imposed tariffs have triggered retaliatory measures from the EU, disrupting industries and undermining trust in trade negotiations. This economic standoff not only threatens future collaboration on critical global issues, but also complicates diplomatic efforts. The automotive sector, one of the hardest-hit industries, faces significant challenges. European automakers, which export hundreds of thousands of vehicles to the U.S. each year, could see their market access shrink under a proposed 25% tariff. In response, manufacturers may redirect investments to more stable markets, such as China. Beyond the auto industry, prolonged trade tensions could push the EU to deepen ties with alternative economic partners, potentially weakening U.S. influence in global markets. Without a diplomatic resolution, both economies risk long-term instability. Compromise is essential to prevent further economic fallout and preserve the fragile balance of international trade. Factor 1. The role of the automotive industry in trade negotiations. The automotive industry has become the focal point of U.S.-EU trade disputes, with millions of jobs hanging in the balance. President Trump's tariffs on European car imports have left automakers with a tough choice: absorb the rising costs or overhaul their strategies to stay competitive. Major European players like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz depend heavily on the U.S. market, but a 25% tariff could make their vehicles prohibitively expensive, slashing sales. On the flip side, retaliatory EU tariffs on American-made cars would hit U.S. automakers like Ford and General Motors just as hard, further escalating the crisis. In response, industry leaders are urging policymakers to broker a resolution that avoids deeper economic damage. As a cornerstone of transatlantic trade, the automotive sector's fate in these negotiations will ripple far beyond pricing and jobs. It could redefine the global automotive landscape for decades to come. Conclusion: a high-stakes road ahead for global trade. France's bold response to U.S. tariffs has ignited a new chapter in international trade dynamics, with the European Union pivoting toward fresh economic partnerships. As automakers grapple with the fallout, the possibility of prolonged tariffs could push Europe further into the arms of China and other global markets, reshaping alliances and transforming the automotive industry's landscape. Manufacturers now face a delicate balancing act, reconfiguring supply chains, innovating to reduce costs, and maintaining consumer trust as prices rise. But the critical question looms: can the U.S. and EU reach a trade agreement before tensions escalate further? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a seismic shift that will redefine global automotive commerce for decades to come? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop your take in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss the next major update in the auto world, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.